Okay guys, it's Saturday morning. Anything goes Saturday. I had to put an outlet in by my kitchen stove. But anyway, now I'm going to show you how to put this thing completely onto the rack. So before we get into that, I'm going to just show you some stuff on the wood miser you want to look out for. So let's go over to the wood miser. Okay, so the thing you're looking for and where you put the toe board is up to you. If you put it at one end or the other, that's up to you. Putting it in the middle would be ridiculous, so don't do that. But you want it at one end or the other. I have it at this end, okay, at the head end where the saw is. So my saw is let's see, my saw is back all the way right where it stands, okay, so that's where the back is. Now my first backstop gives me a little bit of space in here to work with. So in order to do this right, what you want to do is from the back of this first, not from the first, but it's actually the second bunk rail. And the thing is, you know, you can do this, like I say, anywhere you want. What I recommend is you measure 1.5 inches in front of this and put a line on both sides of your channel that runs down through the beam, the 2x6 beam that runs down through the middle of the, or through each side of the sawmill. So 1.5 inches from there in. So we're going to go do that on that wooden mock-up I have. Now the reason I say that is because this does not bother the toe board. The backstop doesn't bother the toe board. Now if you put the toe board on this side, you can see that the backstop would hit the toe board. So you don't want that. Okay, you don't want to have any problems with it, and with the way I have this, I don't have any problems. Okay guys, so the first thing you want to do then is I'm going to be putting my toe board on this side of the bunk rail. Okay, so I have the bunk rail up there 1 inch to sort of show you what's going on. So I'm measuring 1.5 inches on both sides. So I have a mark there at 1.5 inches in. What I want to do is mark both sides with that 1.5 inches. Okay, so I have my marks 1.5 inches beyond that, and I know there's a couple things on the angle, but just be careful and follow yourself around there, and then mark where you need the toe board to be. So I'm going to mark both sides of this, inside and out, and put an X on the side where the toe board goes. Which is this side. Okay, now all that's going to do is keep things straight for us. Okay? So I'm going to grab the first two pieces to get installed. Alright guys, so the first two pieces that get installed are these. And it doesn't really matter to me which way you put them. However, there's a grease fitting in both of them, and I would recommend that the grease fitting go down the rail. Let it aim down where the rest of the log goes, okay? So if you put them both like this rather than like that, you have that, you know, going down the rail. So what these do is these go on the outside here, okay? Now what you want, so we're going to have the grease fitting going down the rail. So what I want is to put this flat against the rail and just pull up until it stops, alright? And keep this edge in line with that pencil line that we have there. So let me get some screws and I'll show you what I mean. Okay guys, so like I say, you're going to pick the grease fitting, make it go down the bunk, aim it down the bunk. So I'm going to put this against your flat. I'm going to pick it up until the welded part of this hits the bottom of the frame, and you want to be able to keep this plate flat on there. Now what I'm sending you is I'm sending these to you. So this is a self-drilling, self-tapping in there. They're done. You don't have to do anything else with them. You can just drill and put them in. If you want to paint them when you're done, that's up to you. So this is going to be on there. You're going to start here with a drill. So what you need is a 3/8 inch socket, preferably on a drill or something that's going to make this easy to spin. And then you want to put a lot of pressure on it so that it goes in. Okay? Alright, so I'm not going to use these because I'll just be wasting them on what I'm doing because I'm taking it apart. But this is what you're getting. 3/8 inch self-tapping and self-drilling screw. That'll screw right into the metal on the bunk. Alright, so what I'm going to use is I'm just going to use a couple of drywall screws here. Now you can't use drywall screws where you have the metal, and I'm not recommending drywall screws. I'm just saying I'm only using this just for the sake of not having to use the other pieces. And you want that to be straight with your line. And then you'll put 3 screws in here. Now I'm not going to bother putting 3 in because this is just a demonstration of how you put it together. And like I say now, you'll be getting a box or 2 of these. So you want to make sure you use these to put them together. Alright, you don't want to use a bolt going all the way through because a bolt's really not going to make things easy for you. Alright, so we're going to assume that side's in. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. All I'm going to do is put this flat against the outside frame over there. Okay, let me just make sure you can see me. Yeah, I'm going to take this, put it on the outside frame over here. Okay, and I'm just going to pull it up until it stays flat, and then I'm going to put this into the frame on that side. So let me do that and then I'll get back. Okay, so those are the 2 brackets, one here, one over there, and they basically look like this from underneath. They're slightly held down below the frame because of the weld, and that's okay. That works good like that. So we have these both on 1.5 inches in front of the bunk rail. So you go 1.5 inches, put a line down, and that's the line you want to follow. Okay, so the next parts you want to grab are the bolt, the 1-inch Acme threaded bolt, and the one end has paint on it. Okay, the other end doesn't. The middle does, but the end. So the end that has paint on, you want to put that end that direction. Okay, the painted end goes towards the where the sawdust comes out of the saw. Okay, the side you walk on to do your working. All right, so now we have to screw on to this pipe both of these pieces of couplings here. So one's left hand, one's right hand. Doesn't really matter. I don't have them marked. When you go to put them on, if they don't go on, try the other end. That's how simple it is. So let me just show you that. I'll put the camera down here. Alright, so I'm taking this. This is a left thread. So that's not going on there, so this must be one. Yeah. So this one goes on this side. You want to thread it on there a couple of inches. It's got to go on there at least 3 inches because the coupling underneath there is 2 inches and the nut's 1 inch. So something like that. And then on the opposite end, the end that has the paint on, you screw the other one on there, and that's the left-hand thread. So the left-hand thread actually goes over there. The reason for that is so that up is when you're cranking the normal way to make it go up. Now, what's the normal way? Well, there's all kind of tools and things go certain ways. I like it so that when I crank clockwise, it does the operation counterclockwise, brings it back down to where it should be. So this is the left-hand side. So I'm just going to make sure I have this thing threaded on here pretty good. Now actually you may have to thread this one a lot further than 4 inches because you got to push one into the couplings that are holding it far enough to clear this other end down here. So what we're going to do is just put this bolt underneath here, and then we're going to slide it in that end. Now if we don't have enough, as you can see there's not enough bolt there to get to get it into the coupling, I need to thread this up a little further. So we're going to do that. I'm just going to take this and thread it on there as far as we have to get it together. Oop, wrong way. Let's see if that's enough. Okay, so you can see, let me take the camera off here for a second. You can see that I have that end threaded on far enough that I can push it in there and this end's not touching, and then I can bring this end back, okay? So once I do that, what I want to do is I want to put a nut on here, and again there's 3 nuts. 2 of them are left thread, 1 of them is right thread. So if it don't go on there, I mean, you can actually look inside and tell which is which. This should be the right thread here. Well, maybe it's not. There we go. So I'm going to put this one on. Now you need to hold the bolt while you turn it on, so let me put the camera down again and grab that. Okay, so I'm holding the bolt on the inside of the I'm holding the bolt on the inside here, okay, so that I can put that nut on. Now all I want is for this nut to go far enough that it's even with the outside of the bolt. You know, you can go 1/8 of an inch or so, but basically evens what I want. Turn it up, and then you want to tighten that this bolt down onto that good and tight. Okay, now these are grade 8 bolts here, or grade 5, so they should be good enough that you can snug them up. Now don't go putting a 3-foot pipe wrench on here, just put a socket and, you know, a regular ratchet drive and just tighten them up snugly. Now if they come off or something during operation, it's not that hard to repair, so you just put it back on. But just tighten that up, and then what you can do is you can push it all the way in. Okay, and then these other 2 go on the opposite side, so I'll show you that right away. Okay, so now we got the bolt is sticking out there. Now this frame, on the inside the measurements are exactly the same as the wood miser, but on the outside here they're slightly different because these are 2x and the wood miser frame is a little wider than this, so you have a little extra room. But anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this bolt on. Okay, now since the other one's all the way on and it's snug, make sure you have this bolt screwed out far enough that it goes on without any trouble. I'm going to keep this pulled this direction. Okay, now we're talking about on the wood miser. Like I said, this wooden frame gives you a little bit of a different thing. You want to go over there, touch it and back off a little bit, just about 1/8 of an inch, and then tighten that bolt. Okay, now this bolt here, I'm going to be cutting this off, so you need a hacksaw as well. So what I'm going to do is, when I'm done, basically what really should be happening here is, when you're on the sawmill and you have this on your wood miser, let me just show you this. The end of this thing should look something real similar to this. Okay, it should look about like that. You tighten this one, you can let that one on there. But the one on the opposite side here, you want to tighten that one as tight as you can, make it good and tight, and then so you put these 2 nuts on. This nut goes on, tighten the end. This one goes on, you tighten it, but then you should cut it off so you can get the wrench over top of it. Okay, that's what I do. Alright, so far we've got the bar down. We've got the two nuts on the end there. Let me just see what the camera's seeing. We got the nuts on both ends, and we've got the 1-inch Acme rod in there. Alright, so the next thing you want to do then is you want to get a dimension. I would recommend, like, say 8.5 inches. Measure from the inside of your frame to the center of the bolt and go 8.5 inches. Now the bolts are not in perfect alignment, but that's not going to hurt you. Just go 8.5 inches. You know, once you have, when this is pulled this way and it's snug, when you're pulled against the nut over there and you're snug, go ahead and bring these in 8.5 inches from each interior measurement here. From inside the frame, 8.5 inches to that. So let me show you that. Okay, so there's 8.5 inches. Now the tape's upside down there, but that's 8.5 inches from the frame to the center of the bolt. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to screw this one so that it's 8.5 inches. Okay, so they're both 8.5 inches to the center of the bolt on each side from the inside of the frame. So the inside of the frame, you go 8.5 inches to the center of this one. Go from the inside of the frame 8.5 inches to the center of the bolt on this side. Okay, so now you have that set up. Let me just back out here a little bit so we can see. So right now this is what we've got here so far. Okay, we have the bolt hanging on. Alright, so after we get the bolt on there, and you don't have to necessarily tighten the nuts that are in the big Acme nuts right away. You can put this all together just to see, you know, how it's going to work. The problem with it is you're going to have to tighten the bolt on the outside of this one so that you can crank it. Okay, the bolt has to be snug against the other. The nut has to be snug against the bolt before you can actually crank it. All right, so far we've got that. Now we've got to get some more pieces. Okay, so the next thing you want to do is you want to grab. Let me just pull this thing up here. Now this is a snug fit, but you got to keep it straight to get it in. You want to grab this piece, okay? This helps to keep the stabilizer straight as it's going up, and also helps to keep the dust off of the bolt that's down there. So here's what you want to do. The top of these tabs are 3 inches above this base. So you want to put basically the top of the tab close to the top of the frame. Don't leave it above it. You don't want to be above it. It'll cause you trouble possibly. So you want to be at least maybe a hair below the top of the frame. So what I'm talking about, like on this end, is you want to keep it even with your line and like a hair below the top of the frame, just like that. And you want to do that on both sides, okay? So now it's a little difficult. You should have somebody helping you because it's kind of hard to hold the pieces and put the bolts in at the same time. But I'm just going to show you how I do it. So you come up there until the tops of these at each end is even with the top, or slightly less. Slightly less would be good than the side frame. So this is the side frame of the wood miser running back and forth the length of the miser. You want this tab to be all the way at the top, okay, but no higher than the flat of the top. So let me get some screws and I'll show you. Okay guys, so there you see I have this screwed in. Now you would be using those same screws that I showed you for metal, but I've just used some drywall screws for temporary. So you put the tab even with the top of the frame on both sides and then screw that in. So that's how that would be. Let me just show you a good picture of it from over here. It looks about like that. Okay, on to the next. Okay, so the next thing you do is you take the top head and just, you know, you may have to spread these a little bit, but just put them down through the holes that are there and leave that sit on there. Okay, that's the next step. Now we got to get some more parts. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to do is grab these 4 pieces, because these are the side pieces for the bolts that are in the couplings, and I'm going to take these 2 bolts because these are going to be for where that piece that I just set on there attaches. Okay guys, so now what I did was I put on these plates. Now it doesn't matter whether the pins come in from this side like that one did, or they come in from this side. It all depends on where it is when you put them together, okay? So you put the clips through the pin, the R clip. If it's not it should be against the metal up here, but it doesn't have to be perfectly tight. You want it to be just close to it. So if you need a washer or something or whatever, then do that. And then the same thing down in here. There'll be some washers in the bag that I send you. You want to put some washers in here to snug this up so it's as close to the weld there as you can get it on each side. And then what that do is it'll hold this thing fairly straight. So right now it's all together. It's leaning back a little bit only because the washers aren't tight on the bottom. Okay, so I'll show you a picture from the side of that. So this is what this looks like. Now, one thing I'll tell you, if it's not level on the top with like the frame and you want to change that, all you have to do is take the nuts out of one side, off one side, pull the plates off, and just turn the bolt one way or the other, and that'll get you where you need to be. But like I say, that 8.5 is very close. Okay guys, so this is how you install it, and once you have this last nut on here, then when you turn this to the right, you'll find that the head goes up. When you turn it to the left, and everything is tight on there, when you turn it to the left, just hold that thing so it's straight. When you turn it to the left, it'll go down. But you got to have this bolt taken out of this nut here so that you can get the full grasp of this. But this is what brings it down. So you'll take it down below the top. I'll keep it straight there. You'll take it down below the top of the bunk rail, which is here. As long as it's slightly below the bunk rail, that's all you need. Or you can pick it up, and it'll go up to about 3 to 4 inches. That's all you need to get to the boards, to the pith. If you have to do something different, just go ahead and put a 2x4 on top of this, and then you can still crank it up or down. Alright, so that's how you install this, and I'm hoping that this helped. If you have questions, all you have to do is write my email, bullseyemickey, M-I-C-K-E-Y, @gmail.com. Thanks for watching. Okay guys, I don't know how fast I went through this. I had some company come and I was sort of in a hurry, but I just want to tell you that my email address, if you want to contact me, is capital BULLSEYEMICKEY @gmail.com. Okay? And then you can ask me whatever questions you want. Okay. Have a good one. So what I'll be doing is I'll be shipping this out then, probably since today's Saturday. I'm just getting this video up. It'll probably be Tuesday now because the post office is closed on Monday.
Hey guys, so this is the start of one of the subscribers, Kane's. His name is Johnny. So Grandpa's here starting it. As you can see, he's got his little pencil marks, so he knows where to go with it. And we're going to do something different with the top than we did with Grandma's. So this is the start. We'll keep you guys up to date on this too.
That's all I need.